All right, hello everybody.
Salut,
We're
comrade.
back. We're back with Comrade Generalissimo, Wooster,
Comrade General.
Spooky, and Neary. We're missing who are we missing? We're missing Blinky today, but that's all right.
Goldster and Blinky, yes. I have captured both of them into my basement, and you will not have them back until you have successfully analyzed the Ghostbusters.
Oh boy. Oh boy, that's
The
happening.
legendary Soviet movie from 1983.
Which oddly enough shows all the problems with regulations. EPA comes in, stomping their things with all their warrants and like, hey, you've got to stop what you're doing. Damn that government regulation. If it wasn't for those meddling EPA, I mean,
getting in the way of good, honest business.
exactly. We'll talk about the evils of capitalist system in Ghostbusters.
Capitalist America is a scourge on the earth.
All right, so let's just start it off with the U. First off, this has this thing again in the movie.
Hold on, let's explain what we're doing.
Okay, tell me.
No, you tell me.
All right, we are going to be explaining Ghostbusters Story Circle, story structure. You need, go, search, find, pay that heavy price, but return to where you started, having changed. 8 steps. You need, go, search, find, pay, return. I missed one of those.
Change.
Thank you. Keeping me honest here. My theory on this movie is that first off, there is zero character development, which is one of the things I started off early. I don't think characters actually change. Venkman slightly, maybe, possibly, but that's only because of the forced and romantic interest with the lovely doesn't matter.
Is that not the girl who was killing aliens a couple years earlier?
That's Sigourney Weaver. Yes, Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, she's an alien killer, and here she's killing Venkman's heart, apparently.
That was Sigourney Weaver. I did not realize
that was Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, Rick Moranis in one of his amazing roles. I really like Rick Moranis in this role. He's good in everything, though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he really is. Well, this starts off again, the Ghostbusters, with a pre-story. It's very short. It's only about a minute or 2 minutes long. It starts off with like, hey, the library. Here's a librarian. Little by little, they're doing that Hitchcockian thing where she's passing through a thing, and without her noticing, the audience notices that there's weirdness going on. Immediately, there's books floating, and then all of the library card system, the Dewey Decimal System starts going up, and that's when it's like, oh, what the fuck is all this weirdness? And cut scene to Ghostbusters. And that's the pre-story of it. It's only 2 minutes long. That doesn't technically count as the U. That's just a thing to set up, like, hey, the expectation, like, hey, there's ghosts for real deal here.
Yeah. It's setting up just what's going to come. It's explaining the movie so we know what's going to happen.
Giving validity to the ghosts right off the bat. This is usually in this part of the movie. The pre-story is a good time to introduce the bad guy or to introduce a concept like, hey, this story is about sci-fi, or hey, this story is about ghosts, or even in Indiana Jones, it's just literally there to set up Indiana Jones and the world in general. Because that part where he's traveling through in Indiana Jones, where he's traveling through the temple and he's get the darts and he's rolling from the ball, that's all technically that's all pre-story. That doesn't quite count as. Anyways, sidetrack. Movie starts off brilliantly with the U portion of the story with Peter Venkman, Dr. Peter Venkman, giving the test to like some nerdy looking dweeby guy that the audience immediately hates, and a lovely, lovely girl there. And there he's doing like, okay, what's the card? It's a square? It's a circle, sorry. How about you, Miss Lovely Lady? oh, it's a triangle, and without revealing the card, it's brilliant because the audience sees that no, it's definitely not a triangle. But he says yes, it is because he's definitely trying to flirt with her. Rules of threes. The first time he gets it wrong, and he shows him, and it gets buzzed, and we're as an audience we're like, oh, we feel bad, but it's funny. He does it a second time, and the third time, rules of three, he reverses it, and this time he actually did guess. He's like, it's three squiggly lines, and it's clearly three squiggly lines. He's like, nope, sorry, and it's just funny. It's just funny, sad but funny.
So that shows the you of that character.
Yes.
That he will just sort of lie, or he's really just a flirt. He doesn't necessarily care about the research portion of it. He just wants to get the girl.
Yes, he doesn't take things seriously in the least. At any time, he's not serious. He's not very he clearly lies for his own gains, and he does that throughout the entirety of the film. But he does it in a charming, funny way, so it's forgiven. He's not done it for like an evil fashion. It's just to, it's
low level assholeness.
Yes,
it's not grand assholeness.
That's a great way of saying it. That's a perfect way of saying it. It's almost like the what's that character? Deadpool. It's a Ryan Reynolds type character where it's his assholishness is in a good ribbing nature that is funny for the audience. Immediately from there, I forget what everybody's names are. He comes in as like, hey, there's ghosts in the library. Let's go check it out. So of course they all go to the library. Ray, thank you. Ray, we go to the library, and this is still part of the you introducing characters one by one. Venkman, and then Ray, who's clearly smart, but he's, I don't know, socially inept, not very trustworthy. He's a little bit childish. He's innocent. He's very innocent. He's back to the point where like they're him and who's the tall guy with the funny hair and the glasses that Janine really has a crush on. Egon. Why is my brain not my work? Probably because I should have notes. Egon, and they're all there like trying to figure out like, okay, we're in the library, there's a ghost, there's a floating spirit, let's go talk to him. And they're like, go ahead, Ray, go talk to her, that's the big plan. He is very social inept and actually tries to talk to the ghost, and the ghost just turns around and scares them, and it's a great cutscene. Go ahead. The ghost
doesn't do that until they try to attack her. When they try to talk, she goes.
That's right. He literally says, "Get him, Ray, get him," and he tries to get him. That was the big plan, to get him. Of course, cut to them screaming out of the library, birds flying everywhere. It's a huge success. Everybody's screaming, and that's where we're introduced to the need. Venkman has an immediate thought because he goes back to the university, and the professor's like, you guys don't take anything seriously. We're kicking you out. You're on your own. We've set likable characters. They're ordinary day. They have we feel empathy for them because like their big project is like, yeah, you're studying the paranormal, but you've got zero funding. Venkman comes with a brilliant idea. Let's triple mortgage your house so we could buy this ridiculously big place and start our own business. Huge success. They even have a very cheesy commercial. To me, that's the need. Setting up hey, we're going to have a business model that chases ghosts and saves us from ghosts.
I mean, maybe, but could it be that's what they're doing, but that's not the need. I think the need would be something along the lines of they want to be respected or have their studies vindicated.
You know what? Yes, but also I think now that I think about it more, the need is the inciting incident is Sigourney Weaver. Oh, her eggs popping. By the way, there's that scene in Sigourney Weaver's apartment where the eggs are popping.
Would this be the alien egg?
Yes, the alien eggs. Wrong movie again. We're talking about Ghostbusters, not Alien. Chicken eggs popping while she's making a dinner. And by the way, right next to the eggs is Stay Puft marshmallow bag. So it's kind of like a pre-setup. I didn't notice it until now, second watching. Anyway, she opens the fridge and there it is, the land of Goza. And she contacts, after watching the commercial from the Ghostbusters, she contacts them. So I think that's the inciting incident. And technically, since the entire movie we're ultimately going to be fighting Gozer, I think that might count as the need. It's multi-layered need because there are many characters, multi-layered needs, I think.
Well, I mean, Gozer is trying to get into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And Gozer he's certainly a force, but that doesn't have anything to do with the characters. I mean, that's where they're going up against, but that's not their overall. Gozer relates to it, but they have no idea about Gozer. That's just their last challenge.
This is true. Okay. I'm thinking of it as the need of the film in general. So, well, that's the need. The go is in my opinion, the go is when Venkman goes to her apartment and starts investigating and starts flirting with her bit by bit and starts saying, okay, let's see, Egon, you go check the library, see if you figure out anything from Gozer. Ray, you go do Ray things and other research. And Venkman's going to go check out the apartment. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Know what I mean? Know what I mean? And he fails miserably in flirting with Sigourney Weaver. It's terrible. It's terrible, so terrible. We feel sorry for Venkman, but at the same time, it's very, very funny. But I think that's the go, because after that everybody's literally, there's a montage of them looking up ghosts and getting more and more jobs and more of that happens. So anytime there's a montage, I always think of it as that is the search portion.
That's like the fourth out of 8 in the story circle is search.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I think the go, and really within the first 30 minutes, we've gone through the need, and the go. Because that scene, the montage comes in like the 30-minute mark.
Because that's when they start actually being popular, and when people start respecting the Ghostbusters.
Yes. And they have their road of trials where they actually go, their first mission is to go to the very, very, very expensive hotel room where somebody's throwing a gala and they're like, oh, don't worry, we'll be very discreet. Hence, and they come in, funnily wearing all the gear. There's that scene in the elevator when one dude's like, what are you guys? And it's like, oh, we're exterminators. That must be some really big rat. Don't worry, I'll take the next elevator. It's dry humor, but it works for its time.
Yeah. So that's the search. They're searching for, I would say they're searching for respect and acceptance as professionals, as serious individuals. They're not just make-believe pretending about ghosts and the paranormal.
You're right. They're getting better at their job. Yeah.
Yeah. Until finally they find what they're looking for in
knowledge.
Not really in knowledge, but in just respectability, because now the EPA is actually looking at them.
You're right.
The EPA looks at them as being a serious thing that has serious consequences and needs to be regulated.
Mr. Peck from the EPA.
Yes, played Mr. Pecker.
Mr. Pecker. That dude's in a lot of cool movies, and I really, really like Mr. Dickless, that's a great joke later referenced. He does a great job of that. And again, this is during the search portion where we're having the montage of showing they're getting better and better at being Ghostbusters. And this is in the search portion is a great also time to introduce more characters and even other antagonists or antagonist forces. In this case, the evil regulatory system of the government, big government bad. Look at Mr. Peck over here with, with saying, "Let me see your containment units," and Dr. Venkman saying, "Nah, fuck you. You don't get to see your containment units." "Well, I'll just come back with a warrant, and then you'll see." And he says, "Yeah, whatever, dude. I don't give a shit. I don't, I am not scared of you in the least." But he should have been scared in the least.
I mean, apparently they had an unlicensed nuclear reactor in their basement. So
No. Each of the backpacks was unlicensed nuclear accelerator.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yes.
And
So
the one in the
maybe there was a
basement
point.
even worse.
Yeah.
Maybe he had a point.
I mean,
just saying.
He's saying, it could have environmental, impact, which the door, of course, it has.
Yeah.
But also, that's back to the montage road of trials portion. That great scene in the hotel room where they're just wrecking the place. We're introduced to Slimer, who comes back in the cartoon series as being their pet. Here he's just a very cute, annoying yet ugly ghost that gets to slime Dr. Venkman.
Yeah.
And also they capture him, and that's when we're introduced to the "don't cross the streams because the universe may end." It's very common in movies for a setup to be like, here's the rules. Do not break the rules, except for maybe, possibly, by expressing the rules later on at the return portion. As is here, we all know they cross the streams for the return. But this is a good setup and payoff. Always try to introduce your setups during the need or the search portion of the story.
Yeah. I mean, so they set up the rule only so they can subvert it later.
Exactly.
So this is like the gun of Chekhov, yes?
Yes, this is exactly a Chekhov's gun. Except that Proton's gun, not Chekhov's, Ray's gun, the Proton gun.
Yeah.
This is also where we're introduced to who's the fourth Ghostbuster that comes in late. He's like, "Hey man, Janina's like, "Hey, do you believe in like aliens, Bigfoot, conspiracy stories, third side, ESP, blah blah blah." He's like, "Man, if it pays, I don't give a shit. I believe whatever the fuck he's telling me." He's cool. We like him immediately. That's still during the search portion of it. Search portions of the movies or even stories, that's where you could really stretch it out and put in a bunch of, that's where most of the story takes place. On these little road of trials, you get to stuff it with all these little setups and payoffs and mini successes and mini failures. But then they get their big success. They find Venkman hangs outside of apparently Sigourney Weaver's practice place, and he's flirting with her, and she's coming out of practice and like, "Hey, I found out some more about Gozer. Apparently, he's some Mesopotamian Mesopotamian demon, had all these worshippers, and let me tell you more over dinner." So he gets the thing that he wants. He gets a date with Sigourney Weaver, and she gets the thing that she wants. She gets the information about what the fuck happened. And they make it a point that she's the first client that they had. So she's like paid ahead of time. So that's why he's like, they have the money to get better, and why he has a special interest in making sure that this case happens. Thoughts on that?
I was just going to say, like, don't be creepy.
Don't be creepy.
Don't. He is not a
that behavior is not acceptable anymore.
No, like forcing a woman to go on a date with you just so that you can, because she doesn't have anywhere else to turn to. Like, that's creepy. Don't do that. Anyway.
What? This is not standard practice in America? This movie's lying to me.
In the 1980s, that was standard practice. We don't do that anymore.
Does that mean I need to let go of half my prisoners?
Oh, wait. Just to make it even worse, during the search portion, during the montage, there is a scene with Ray. He's like having a dream, and in this dream, like this ghostly, sexy woman is floating above his bed, and she's like clearly going down on him, and his eyes are just like comedically crossing, like, "Oh, what?" It's cringy inducing seeing this
At
after
least
like
that one is dream
25
sequence.
years. It literally lasted exactly 1 minute for the scene in between all these montages. I'm thinking, if I was a director nowadays, I'd for sure cut that scene. That scene gets deleted immediately.
Oh goodness. Yeah. So what do you think? So I argue that they find what they want when they start getting, popular and respected. And then it comes to when they pay the heavy price is when the EPA, shuts them down, lets all the ghosts out. Like that is a heavy price for their respectability, but because the characters themselves never change in this movie, it kind of just slides off their back because that's just how this movie works. They have no character change. So it goes to that, but
I
they
love
immediately like triumph over the EPA guy.
it. Lasts very little.
Yeah, like he is just really a mini boss that sets them up for the next part.
He's the inciting incident that causes the pay the heavy price. I think my opinion is because that scene literally follows once, Dana, who is the character of Sigourney Weaver is playing, she's floating in the bed and for once, Dr. Venkman shows some restraint because she is literally throwing she's the Gozer, the key master, the key holder. The key holder is literally throwing herself at Dr. Venkman. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She's like, I need you inside him. He's like, I think you have enough people inside of you. Thank you. Just chill down. Here, I gave her some chill pills. She's now floating up above the air, and he calls the main office, like, hey, Egon, some weird shit's going on over here. Dana, she's floating above the bed, she's barking, and she says she's the
key master.
The key master, and he's like, well, that's good because I have Rick Moranis here, and he's the key holder. So I think we found what we're looking for.
The gatekeeper.
Right, the gatekeeper. So to me, that's when at that moment is like, I think we found what we're looking for. The missing information makes sense. And meanwhile, Ray and can't remember the fourth Ghostbuster name.
I can't either.
Anyways, they're in the car and they're having a philosophical discussion about the end times and how every mythos happening is like, the Bible says da 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 da, and then the bodies will rise. And then Ray's like, well, I mean, the Bible says the bodies will rise during the time of end days. Have you seen all the ghosts coming up? Hinting towards this is the end days. Next cutscene is the EPA coming in and saying, shut everything down. No, don't touch it. Shut everything down. But wait, no, you had your chance and I'm going to be a dick. Shut everything down. And even the workers like, are you sure? Because I don't know how the system works. And of course, pay the heavy price. Shut everything down. Red lights. Red lights. And as we know, red means danger. Immediately afterward, the whole base of operations, what do they call it?
The firehouse. Yeah.
The firehouse explodes in a supernatural, ghosty thing. And of course, they get arrested and get thrown into jail. Pay the heavy price. And you're right, it only lasted like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. Very, very short. Because they don't pay a price. But I mean, it's immediately they're vindicated as soon as the thing turns off.
They're like, you know what we need to do is we need to go in front of a judge, and they just go in front of the mayor and argue their case.
No, isn't it a judge?
It's the mayor.
And then the ghost comes in and is like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, judge, because you sentenced me to death.
No, wrong movie.
No, that's a wrong movie.
Oh, that's the wrong movie?
That's the wrong
movie.
movie.
I'm sorry.
No worries. No, and this one he goes against the mayor, and the mayor's like mayor because he's like looking at the map, and there's all these ghost sightings, and he's like, well, here's the Ghostbusters, and they're like, dude, this is not our fault. This guy from the EPA is like, where is this guy from the EPA? And he comes in, he's like, these fools did this weird shit. He's like, no. This dickless motherfucker turned off the system, and that's what released all the ghosts. And he's like, is this true? He's like, yes, Your Honor. It's very true. This man has no dick. That's the joke.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. And the mayor's like, get this fool out of here. So goodbye, Mr. Peckerman. Hello, Ghostbusters again coming out. They're released from the city building, and everybody's like cheering, like, yeah, we love you, Ghostbusters, go get them. Meanwhile, big tower where Dana, the gatekeeper, and the keymaster.
Yeah.
Jesus,
the gatekeeper and the keymaster.
They made it so easy for the audience to track. I mean, they're literally like, you don't have to just gatemaster key.
Key gate. Put the key in the gate.
They needed
very subtle.
They needed to dumb it down even more for me, apparently. Anyways, apparently the building
Typical American, no cash.
Apparently the building, apparently the building is made from some superconductive metal thing. And again, they're discussing this in the jail because they're in jail. And they're like pulling out the map. They're pulling out the map of like the foundation of the building where Dana lives, and like, look, see, it's a satellite or it's an antenna for paranormal activity. The guy who built this is either a genius or a madman. Setting up this is where the great confrontation is going to happen.
Yeah. That is a thing they do. Does that mean that like the person who built it and possibly the EPA guy are actually like cultist servants of Zool?
Ooh.
Like
in my head, Kenan, that's what's happening now.
Okay.
He's a great grandson of, and he's enacting this. He's like, damn, foils. But it's all right. He gets his comeuppance at the very end. So they show up, and it's all cool. And then they have literally like a 1.5 minute scene where an earthquake happens, and the ground breaks up, and the Ghostbusters fall into the hole, and then the police car goes in and falls on top of them and then blows up. And then there's water and fire and rocks are falling, and the crowd's like, oh no, the Ghostbusters that we love, they just fell in the hole, now they're dead, and the police car blew up. And there's a worried look on everybody's face. But no, turns out they climb out of it and they're like, look, guys, we're fine, everyone's safe. And everybody cheers, everybody's happy. And meanwhile, they cut back to the big menacing building, and then they go into the building. And there's a great joke there where they're going up these stairs and they're looking up, and the camera is like looking up and like, what floor is she in? 23rd floor. And clearly they're gonna have to take the stairs, and it's a Vertigo shot. They're reenacting the scene from Vertigo where it's like a long tunnel. And it's a cool little visual joke. Setting up the return, the big final boss fight. And as we know, they get to the top, and what happens? Wooster, we'll let you take over the return portion. I've been talking for a lot. I took a lot of coffee this morning. Comrade General, please describe the return portion.
Are you making a joke of me?
No.
I think you've got that perfectly in
like a foolish American. You are so insolent. I should send my nuclear missiles at once, but unfortunately, the Bureau has confiscated them all. But yes, our heroes do make it up the stairs to the final confrontation at the altar where the keyholder and the gatekeeper, keymaster, which one? Whatever. I did watch it in Russian, so I do not know.
It doesn't translate very well.
Да. Нет работы.
Niet.
But yes, they get there and they have a face off with the Gozer. Gozer the Gozerian. And when they think they have defeated him.
Let me pause for a
Actually-
second. That name, Gozer the Gozerian,
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This movie is a classic, and the writing on it is just like so like I don't know, just call him Gozer the Gozerian, I suppose.
He did have like 16 names, so I don't know. Gozer the Gozerian, Gozer the Conqueror, Gozer the... I don't know.
Destroyer of worlds.
Head Gozer, assistant to Gozer, and chief operating Gozer of Gozer Enterprises.
Amazing.
Very American, very stupid. But it is then when they accidentally choose their opponent, which is the form of the Great Destroyer, the American Capitalism Incorporated, Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man.
The epitome of capitalism. Stay Puft
Yeah.
Marshmallow Man.
Just
Which
one
I-
big fat lump of sugar. Would
But-
go down with the rain, but it's not raining.
In the end, that big fat lump of sugar does destroy most Americans. Please
Yeah.
continue.
It means playing the long game.
You were gonna say something?
But so they return as a competent group, you know.
Having defeated.
Yeah, and they changed, but they're still kind of the same because really all the people are still, you know, Egon is still the smart one.
Who still has no emotion and he does not know how to interact and have a normal conversation. Janine is throwing herself at him and he's like, what hobbies do you do? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I collect spores and molds. Does not change at the end of the film.
Yeah. You know, he's the one that comes up with the plan of, you know, okay, well, we need to cross the beams. And you know, the one guy who's the adorkable nerd Ray, he's like, I didn't mean to pick the form. Oops, my bad.
How could
Sorry,
the most
guys.
innocent thing that I could think of as a child? I love Stay-Puft Marshmallow.
What I think is irony is that that Wankman did speak of a person without it being chosen beforehand. He was thinking about Herbert, what was it, Herbert Hoover or something.
Yeah. He mentioned somebody like in talking like, oh, they're looking for like a champion, a hero, like so and so. Do
If
not
we think
of
about
anybody.
Herbert Hoover, we're gonna fight Herbert Hoover, and why didn't we get Herbert Hoover? I wanted Herbert Hoover, not some Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man.
Here's the thing: I didn't know that Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man was a real. I mean, Stay-Puft was a real brand.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I always thought it was just like, you know, like
Acme brand, like
or
we
Lee's.
made it for the show itself.
or
Okay.
like those potato chips that are always on Community, like Lay's or Lee's.
Yeah, it was just made up brand. I didn't know that it was a real thing. I wonder if it was either regional or they went out of business.
I think
How
it's-
would they go out of business after Ghostbusters?
Right? Exactly what I'm thinking.
Well, because did you see how much marshmallow they used for the movie?
A valid point. A valid point.
By the way, I love that scene when, you know, the set is kind of ridiculous when they're on the rooftop. And but then they're zooming in on Ray, who's like, I thought of the most innocent thing. How could this thing hurt us? And then you hear the stomp, 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 look of bewilderment. Cut to, and it's the Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man just beside you, cutting through buildings. And the shot is the buildings here, and he's behind it. So like it's really good effect of. It almost looks like that Godzilla effect of miniature, but it's foreground, midground, and background. And then overview point of him just stomping on top of people. That whole scene is really brilliantly done.
Mhm.
To the point where, like, I imagine something cut to give us an anticipation with the sound cues of the stomp stomp, and then cut to showing just the utterly ridiculousness of Stay Puft Marshmallow Man stomping through the city, angrily going up, and then when they cross the streams, like his face transforms into a ridiculous. I loved it.
Yeah. KGP informed me that Stay Puft is not a real company. It
Oh,
has
is that
never
right?
existed. Yes, the KGP informed me that it was a shell corporation used by the KGP to spy on the American marshmallow industry.
Extract our high fructose corn secrets.
The
Fake news? Question mark. Anyways, I love the scene afterward. They blow him up, and everything is covered in literally just shaving cream, not marshmallow, shaving cream. But they all survive. And then Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis are actually in stone, and they slowly like start coming out of the stone dogs. And hey, they're happy, and now we return, having changed. It's implied that Sigourney Weaver and Dr. Venkman, as portrayed by Bill Murray, are coupling up because they're holding hands or whatever, and it's all lovey-dovey, and the whole city's crowd and cheering like, yay.
I just realized something. He's getting Rick Moranis's this movie for once is progressive. Sigourney Weaver has already been with Rick Moranis, but they don't treat it as, oh, he's getting, no, like it's fine. She was with someone else, now she's with him, and like it's fine.
Yes.
Because yeah.
Rick Moranis is so like in love. Everybody's chasing Sigourney Weaver in this movie.
would you not?
I mean, yeah, she's hot in this movie, of course.
Well, anyway, so the return was, they returned to fight Gozer. They defeated Gozer in the form of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And then the having changed is afterwards, where, literally the change was Rick Moranis and
Sigourney
Weaver are returned to human. They've changed back, and now the Ghostbusters are in fact a respected and believed and
loved by the
New
New York audience.
Yeah. So that is the change that they go through. They go from being outcasts to accepted.
And during the whole blowing up scene, a big old drop of Stay Puft Marshmallow lands and covers up Mr. Peckerman, the EPA guy. And he's all like, what's all this over me? So he gets his comeuppance.
Yeah.
Without being like really big comeuppance.
Yeah, it's basically just he was never a real threat, so he just gets a not real comeuppance. He was just a annoying dork, so he just gets a humiliation.
Hoisted by his own petard.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And Peter doesn't learn any lessons. He is still a smartass. He still doesn't take things seriously. And he's still, I guess, a womanizer, tail-chasing guy, but he finally found the one that he'd been stalking over for so long, so good for him. And Sigourney's like, okay, fine. White hero syndrome, you saved me, so now you get the success in storytelling as well. Rick Moranis is like, hey, who does your taxes? So now he gets a client, so he's winning as well, and they reach the next level. And it's still a classic. It still holds up. I still quite enjoyed it. It's still very funny. A few cringy scenes that don't quite hold up as nicely as they would in today's culture, but funny, good. And I can't wait till the new one, Ghostbusters Afterlife, comes up. We almost watched that one, but it's not out till, technically it came out in theaters yesterday.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
It did?
I was unaware.
And it's not streaming yet because we were going to stream it. I was at my brother's and they're like, hey, let's watch Ghostbusters. I'm like, no, let's watch Ghostbusters, the new one. I'm like, it's not streaming yet, so let's watch the old Ghostbusters.
how do you figure
Oh.
this matches up with the remake of Ghostbusters that came out a few years ago?
The all-female version?
Yeah.
I think that version is missing a lot of the magic that this one has. But really, my big problem with the girl Ghostbuster version is that it was more of situational comedy skit turned into a full-length movie. It was a lot of like, let's set up this scene and spend 15 minutes on this scene, and it just is just situationally funny. With just that, it's just a skit, and the next scene, and the next scene, and the next scene is another skit without it having a full flow coherent movie thing. It's just like taking advantage of four brilliantly funny, incredibly funny women, and also Thor, because he's in it as well as playing a himbo. So 5 incredibly good looking and funny people just having fun on screen doing skits. But it's not so much, it doesn't flow as nicely as a movie. So that's my thoughts on it. I didn't quite enjoy it as a movie, but as its own thing, it's enjoyable. And not to take anything from the incredible, talented cast that movie has, but it wasn't directed or edited, or the other movie doesn't have good story structure. That's the actual thing of it. Has terrible story structure. It's more like a series of skits put together to be funny.
A long form sitcom.
Yes. Which, again, this is the importance of having good story structure. If we could have a good story structure in a movie such as Ghostbusters that has such a weird and weak premise with zero character growth, yet it works and it's quotable and it's still funny to this day. There we go. What's your thoughts?
I have not seen the new one.
It
is unavailable in the Soviet Union.
Now, when I say the new one, a new one's came out yesterday, which is Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is, I guess, the kids of the Ghostbusters. We don't quite know. I haven't seen the movie yet. It just came out.
It makes more sense than the other premise.
Yeah.
But I do believe that one comes to Soviet Union sometimes in 2022.
Yes. Worcester streaming direct from Soviet Union 1983.
How did you know? Did you see my background?
Technically, Ghostbusters came out in 1984, but that's all right.
No, we're talking about the Russian version.
I know. I'm aware. You guys got it ahead of time because you got the dirty copy. Your secret spies got it that way.
Yeah, that's why we had Stay Puft Marshmallow Company.
Steven, is that right? Neari, thoughts?
I don't know. Avocados make guacamole and you can keep it fresh with a little lemon juice on top.
Pro tip, us Mexicanos have always known that you put a little chili and the lime, the lemon juice is a chemical that keeps the avocado / guacamole from turning brown.
Yeah.
According to Russian science, avocado is a plant that cannot survive without human intervention. It was dying out because it didn't have any megafauna to eat it before humans discovered how delicious it is. This is Soviet science.
Dang, that is a thing. I did not know that.
Do we wish to call this discussion here?
Or do you want to do the other portion of it?
Well, we had talked about doing the story structure of robots. Yeah, Love, Death, and Robots. But it's already 12:43.
We're at a good point. Because we are missing Blinking Poop. Amazing name. Yeah, I'm good with that. We good with pausing here, or what? Stopping here and continue at the next one.
Let us continue next time because I do have to torture them for information for the next show.
Well, there we go then. It has been decided. The next time is going to be TBD, but we will be talking about Love, Death, and Robots special episode and something else. To be surprised. We'll let you know.
If you want to influence the decision, you send a courier to KGB unit in Moscow, or you can go to these guys' Discord down over there.
Yeah, keep the spies away from us. Just go straight to our Discord. It is very safe and secure there.
So, but if you do send the tip to the KGB, we make sure we do not torture you as much as we do these guys.
Or torture our audience. Exactly.
До свидания, товарищ.
Oh, yeah. Das Vidanya, indeed.